Hello everyone, you're welcome back to my channel. Thank you for stopping right here on my space today. I really do appreciate. So if this is your first time of coming across my channel, it's centered around sewing and I share sewing tutorial videos and pattern drafting. So in today's tutorial, I'll be quickly sharing with you all how I made this beautiful gown you see right here with this basque effect on the waist that has a v-neck line with balloon sleeves with little pleats on the armhole area. So as you can see right here, I made this of two different fabrics to make this. The two fabrics are actually crepe, but one is plain and the other has prints on it. If you're interested in getting to know how I achieved this beautiful gown you see right here, continue watching and I'll just get started with today's tutorial. So basically this is the second part of this tutorial because I already uploaded the first part on my channel, which was the drafting part. So in this particular one, I'll be sharing with you all how to assemble all of these drafted pieces together. So if you have not seen the tutorial on the drafting part of this gown, I honestly urge you to go and watch that out so you understand every step and everything I'm going to do right here in today's tutorial. So I'll be linking it in my comment section to the video so that you can go on ahead to watch that particular video, right? So just as you can see right here, I firstly went ahead to draft this out on my pattern paper before I went ahead to cut out on my actual fabric, and I used the plain crepe of 2 yards for the upper part. So for the gathered part of the gown, I used the 1.5 yard of that fabric you saw right there at the beginning of this video. So I went ahead to cut out this my already drafted pattern on my fabric. So I cut out the front part and the back part of the upper part of this dress. So once again, I'm saying if you're here to see the first part of this tutorial, which is the drafting part, I urge you to please go and watch it out so you understand every step I'll be taking right here. So this was the last part where I stopped in the first tutorial. After cutting out the facing, I went ahead to iron this out. So all these marks you see on this fabric is actually water. Yes, I sprinkled water on this for me to be able to iron this so well because it was very rumpled. So I went ahead to bring the wrong side of this my fabric and place this my cutout facing I have on it exactly on the neckline area. So I'm going to stitch just exactly the way the shape goes this way, but before that I'll go ahead and pin. So for the back part, I'll also repeat the same thing I'm doing right here for the front part of my gown. So I was a little bit confused on the placement of this facing, so while doing this, do ensure that you place this right. Okay, so I made sure that I placed it very well. As you can see right here, I was trying to know which facing was going for the other. So for this facing for the back part of this my gown, I'm going to also stitch on that neckline area, but I'll not stitch up to the end. I'll leave about 1 inch from the zipper area, right? So I'll be explaining why I did all of this later. So I've gone ahead to stitch the facing to the fabric, and you can see what it looks like right here. So at the center of this v-neck line, I'm going to notch it and also notch the sides just slightly. Don't notch for you to cut out the tray, just slightly. Okay, so I notch the center and notch the sides a bit. So now I'm going to flip this my facing to the wrong side now of my fabric. Okay, so why stitching, place your facing on the right side of your fabric. By the time you flip, it goes to the wrong side. Although this particular fabric, it was very difficult to differentiate the wrong side from the right side, so I think any side goes for the right side or wrong side, so it's all left for you to choose. So when I flip this to the wrong side, you can see right here that I'm sprinkling or pouring water on this neckline to achieve a very flat effect on the neckline, and I'm going ahead to use my iron to iron this very flat. So after ironing this out, this is what I have. You can see how neat it's already looking. So working with your iron while cutting, especially this v-neck line, is very important. So the next I'm going to do now is to iron my hemming gun because I'm trying to hem the facing to my dress so it doesn't come out of my neckline and look embarrassing when I wear this dress, right? So if you have an interlocking machine, you can go ahead and interlock the edges of the facing, but due to I don't have, I went ahead to fold it in by 1/4 of an inch and also use this my hemming gum to hold it to my fabric. So you can see as I did this for the one side of the neckline, and I also did it for the base and also the other side. So watch carefully, you will realize that I'm folding in the rough edges a bit So after ironing out all of this, you can see what I have. This is actually very neat finishing. But for the back, I'm yet to iron a hemming gum because I will fix my zipper before I use my hemming gum. Okay, so now I want to join this my two shoulders for the front and the back dress, and also the sides. So you're simply going to also turn the facing for the back to the wrong side of your fabric so that it can stick properly. So when you did this, you now place your front and your front dress and your back dress right sides facing each other. You pin it at the shoulder area, the two shoulder areas, and also stitch the sides. So when I did this, you can see that this properly aligned so well, and I was happy at this point because it was actually my first attempt, and I'm coming up with the exact creation which I saw on Instagram. So that's by the way, and I went ahead to mark 1 inch, which was what I gave this as my stitching allowance while drafting, and you can see what I have right here. I also joined the shoulder as well, and you can see what I have right here. So I'll keep this aside now to work for the gathered part of the gown, right? So this fabric I'm using here, like I said earlier, is 1.5 yards, and after sewing this, I realized that the one on the top nail was fuller because I believe they added more inches to their own. So mine was 1.5. So basically, if you want yours to be that big and full, you can proceed to using 2 yards or 2.5 yards or so. So all I did here now was to divide this fabric into two, and for the length I have about 19 inches. For the width, I didn't measure what I had, I just went ahead to divide it into two, and I'm going to join them right sides facing each other at one side. Yes, because I want this to be long. It wasn't long enough, so I had to join the fabric for me to get the actual length that I wanted. So I went ahead to join this right here. So that part I joined is going to automatically become the middle of this my fabric because I measured it out and it was equal at both sides. But one thing I did here was using that part as the front side, which is not really good, so it's not advisable to do that. So I brought the upper part of my dress now, and I'm going ahead now to get the middle by folding it into two, and I'm going to notch it because I'm trying to fix the gathered part of this gown to the upper part, or the lower part of the gown to the upper part, whichever one. So I'm going to get it, and I'm going to pin the part where I joined to the upper part of this my dress. So it's not really advisable because it's the front part of your dress, so I'd prefer this joining goes to the back, but that's by the way though. So I pin this, making sure that the notch part on the upper part of my dress aligns with that of the one on this my other fabric. So I went ahead to also extend that pin to the end of my dress at the back. So you can see right here now I have these SSCs in between, so this means that I'm going to pin all of these SSCs to the sides. So the reason for you to notch the center is for you not to have this effect fuller on one side and scanty on one side, so the fullness or effect needs to align. So for me, I actually pleated this using a knife pleat. I didn't gather this, I don't know, so I felt like this was better than the gathering, so I pleated this, and the pleat I used here was a knife pleat. So you're going to pleat this exactly on this right sides facing each other, and you're going to follow the shape of this waistline. So by the time you do this, you're going to pin from one side to the middle and also pin from the middle to the other side. So right here I pinned from the middle to one side of at the end of my dress, and you can see what I have and what it's looking like. So I'm going to finish it up for the other side, and I'll show you all what it looks like. It was so beautiful and nice. So after stitching that, now you can see this is it, and you can see that this gathers effect actually corresponds at both sides. We don't have one side looking fuller than the other side. So that's by the way. I'm going to keep this aside now to work for the sleeve. So I already have this drafted long sleeve pattern right here with me, so I'm going to get started now by slashing and spreading this. So I'll firstly start by marking 1 inch apart. So I'm going to separate this by 1 inch, right? So for this sleeve I actually added 1 inch for my hemming allowance. So for that very last line I didn't go ahead to also divide that, because if I divide it I'm going to be left with half of an inch. So you're going to cut this shoe but not entirely. You're going to leave about quarter of an inch at that top part of the sleeve, because you're not going to cut it open entirely. Okay, so you can see how I'm doing this right here. So after cutting this out all through, leaving about quarter of an inch at the top of your paper, I'm going to fold my fabric into two and now place this slashed pattern paper on top of my fabric. So I'm going to start by pinning the first part at the folded edge, from the beginning of the folded edge on my fabric. So I'll pin this. So right here, for you to achieve a fuller balloon sleeve, you can actually decide to add more inches while spreading. So initially I marked 1.5 inches for my spread, but when I realized it was too small I increased this by 2 inches. So I'm going to mark these 2 inches. I'm going to spread all of this by 2 inches. So I'll continue marking 2 inches from each paper I pinned. So for that last piece of paper which mistakenly separated from the rest, I'm just going to bring it very close to the other paper and pin as well. So because this sleeve has this little pleats on the armhole, I went ahead to add 3 inches. So I'll take note of that 3 inches. Okay, and do remember that this is on fold. If I should open it up I'll be having 6 inches in total, but on fold like this I have 3 inches. So after taking note of that, I went ahead to connect it all the way down and cut out. So I'll cut out 2 sleeves because of course we have 2 hands. So after cutting, I'll just notch the center of my sleeve, right? So spreading this out, you can see what it looks like. By the time I fix my elastic, it's going to come together. So this elastic was not up to half of an inch, but the one I later used was up to half of an inch. So I'm going to start by hemming my sleeve area. So I'm creating a channel right here by folding 1 inch, and from that 1 inch I'm going to fold in about quarter of an inch, which I just did right here. So this was this elastic I later used is half of an inch, so it's going to fit perfectly on this channel I created right here where my elastic will be passing through. So I'm using my safety pin now to do this, and I'll pull this from one end until it comes out from the other end. So you can see what I have right here. So I will firstly pin that part so it doesn't slip away from that part, and for this other side I'm going to start stretching. So for you to actually get this right, you need to make use of an elastic that stretches a lot. So I place it on my wrist to ensure that it wasn't so tight. So I'm going to double stitch down the both sides, and after I did that I brought the two right sides facing together and stitched it using half of an inch from the wrist or from the base up to the armhole area, as you can see. So right now I'll be fixing my sleeve to the armhole part of my gown, right? So I'm going to do this by opening up the seam of my armhole area and that of my sleeve, so you can see right here what I did. So from my shoulder, from the joint I have on my shoulder, I'm going to mark 3 inches. So these 3 inches I'm going to mark right here. Remember, is that extra 3 inches I added from at my armhole while I was drafting, because it has pleats, right? So I'm going to pin this my sleeve on my armhole, and when I get to that 3 inches I'm going to stop right there. So just watch carefully because I'm going to do all of this I just explained right here. So I'm going to pleat this my sleeve on my armhole, and when I get to that 3 inches, the chalk I marked right there, I will stop. So So you can see right here, I'll also do it for the other side of my armhole. So I'll go ahead as well to also get the middle of this my sleeve and pin it to the shoulder. So by the time I do all of this, you realize I have these excesses in between. So those excesses are the excesses we are going to pleat on the armhole of this gown to achieve that pleat I showed you guys earlier in the beginning of this tutorial, that is also on the dress I'm trying to recreate as well. So I now turn this to the wrong side for me to show you all this perfectly. So you see these excesses right here, you're going to stitch, stop at the 3 inches, then pin these excesses and make sure that it stops exactly on the shoulder joining you have. So just carefully keep doing this, and you can see that I'm pinning that excess right there, and it's going to stop exactly at that shoulder joint we have right there. So after that, I'll just go ahead and stitch this at both sides of this my sleeve, and also do the same thing for the other side of my armhole. So this is how to achieve you perfect balloon sleeve with these little pleats on the armhole. So guys, you can see right here I've gone ahead to do that. So the next thing I'm going to be working on is on the back part of my dress, and also attaching my zipper. So of course, if you want to fix your zipper, the right side is going to face the right side of your fabric. So I'm going to fix or stitch this my zipper to this my gown, and I'll use my facing to cover this up, but I'll stitch that down first before doing all of that. So I've stitched my zipper, and you can see how nice this is looking. This is actually an invisible open zipper, big head, that's what we normally call it here, so I don't know what you call it. So you're going to flip your zipper just this way and use your facing to cover it. So I brought this a bit closer for you all to see what I did. You flip it back and use your facing to cover it. So I've gone ahead to stitch this and also stitch the sides as well. So all I'm going to do is to cut off the excesses at the top parts, which is that zipper, and I'm going to flip this to the right side. So right here you have a perfectly covered neat zipper or finishing, because this type of fabrics doesn't really need the zip showing so much at the joint we have at the top part. Okay, so after this, now you can now go ahead to now hem this using your hemming gum, just the way I did it for the front part of this dress. So I did that one, but I did it behind the camera, I didn't show it right here, but it was the exact way I did it. So that was all I did. I stitch up the remaining back parts, and here comes the outcome of all of these things I was doing right here. So like I said earlier, if you want your gathers effect to be fuller, increase the inches of your fabric. Okay, I use 1.5 yards. You can make it of 2 inches or 2.5 yards. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate, and if you've come this far watching this tutorial and you found it helpful and you're yet to subscribe, please kindly hit on that subscribe button, because it's never going to be a thing of regret. Thank you all so much. I really do appreciate all your efforts, all everything you've been doing for me right here on this channel. I'm grateful. So guys, see you some other time. See you same time on the same channel. Bye.